I don't know if it's just me, but somewhere along the way on this journey we call life, things slowly began to just not make sense. As the years in which I've walked this earth continue to climb, and the more I try to find meaning in every bit of suffering, frustration, and loneliness I've experienced as well as witnessed, the more I found myself allowing bitterness to creep in. The world I once felt safe in now feels strange and unfamiliar. Like the life I once knew got stripped away, and nobody told me when it happened. A little over 1 year ago, I finally took the step in my life's journey that I thought would change everything, and that I knew I'd do ever since I was 20. I left my job at Subaru to pursue full-time filmmaking. Working at Subaru was a chapter that carried me through some of the darkest years of my life. These years defined my early adulthood. Financial stress of carrying my family at 21, loneliness, escapism, and numbing myself from unhealed traumas and weights that almost crushed me, and that I should have never had to carry so young in the first place. For years I convinced myself that if I could only leave and somehow do video production or YouTube full-time, everything would click. I knew that if I was to truly take this leap of faith into the unknown, I would be forced to depend on the Lord. Somewhere deep inside of me was fear mixed with the idea that this would be the beginning of freedom. Maybe not financial freedom right away, but freedom for my spirit as my relationship with God continued to grow. Here's the thing I never saw coming. In the words of Myron Golden, disruption always follows intention. And what was that disruption? The promises and plans laid out for me from an ex-friend and business partner to keep me afloat while I transitioned went up in flames. Financial collapse, loss of trust in my relationships, a feeling of having the floor ripped out from under me. Leaving my job didn't end the fight. It exposed me to it, amplified it even. Suddenly all the hidden feelings along with the unhealthy coping mechanisms I had used to survive in the spiritual warfare, it was all right in my face. These compounding circumstances forced me to deal with myself in a way that I had never done before. Nobody told me that chasing your dreams feels like suffocating most days, that you're seeing a reality no one else can see and feeling insane for believing in it. Nobody tells you that the faith it takes to walk out what's needed to move forward towards that vision feels like straight up delusion. You see, the problem is we wait for clarity or confirmation, the breakthrough moment where everything clicks. Instead, however, you feel the floor ripped out from under you, the very fabric of your expectations and safety ripped from underneath your feet. This is exactly how I felt this past summer. Anticipating breakthrough, and was met with disappointment, despair, and egg on my face, the same way things always did.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I don't get annoyed with God's timing.
I felt distraught and led astray, like my relationship with God had been a lie.
Because at the end of the day,
It was as if he had never spoken to me in the first place. It had started to feel like I had put my trust in a fairy tale. The betrayal of my expectations hit so deep, my very perception of reality went up in flames. But here's the thing. When you try to navigate a world that doesn't make sense without the one who actually helps it to make sense, things only get worse. That was a truth that didn't cement itself into my psyche until only recently. Without God, the despair, the confusion, these things feel like complete hopelessness, more so than they already usually do. It's in this most recent season especially, where when things may have looked fine or even fantastic from the outside, there was a veil covering the pleas from me to God to throw me a life raft. Remind me who I was. Ease all this confusion and despair that's pushing me beyond my limits. I truly was devastated and was asking for some form of hope, because without faith, I realized I no longer had meaning. It's around this time that the dream, the vision, the version of myself I always knew would emerge, felt all but dead. My faith kept alive solely by a stubborn will to see the vision through. To me, and many others from what I'm starting to gather, it seems like ever since 2020, the world has fundamentally shifted. We've quite literally watched the world break apart, piece by piece. Politics dividing, jobs collapsing, online content becoming louder and faker, truth itself getting blurred. The frameworks of life as we knew it have been, and continue to be, torn down and rewritten right in front of our eyes. I look around these days and just don't feel like I fit neatly into whatever boxes this world keeps trying to shove us into. Not the 9-to-5 box, not the high energy influencer box, not the left versus the right, not even the version of success I used to envision for myself. I think to myself about how many of us feel that. A deep sense that the world is no longer what it was, and maybe never really was what we thought it to be. The only thing that's kept me from sinking completely has been faith. Reading the word and leaning on faith even when I straight up resented it. No, there isn't a quick fix that eases the pain, confusion, or resentment. What faith did do, however, is remind me that my story was still being written, restoring a hope in me that went beyond myself and that carried me in the heaviness. I'm starting to believe that when things no longer make sense, it's because God is stripping away the illusions we built our lives on. Maybe He's crushing the timelines, the milestones, the versions of ourselves we worshipped, followed by idols and false identities, so the real may emerge. I've already tried to make sense of the confusion, and it leaves me with more questions than answers. But what I'll walk away with is this: the idea that maybe confusion is simply an invitation to stop trying to interpret what only God can comprehend, no matter how painful, no matter how unpleasant. Because when the world feels foreign, when life feels insane, when nothing makes sense, I suppose that's when faith becomes real. If life has brought you to the end of yourself, and no matter what direction you look or move or try to make, you feel disoriented, that's probably why you're here. The reasoning for this is because the silent season isn't something I randomly made up. It's a name for a universal experience almost all people who are visionaries go through to some capacity, who walk around with a living, breathing vision on the inside of them that burns deep in their spirit.